This demo is going to show the difference between using the MFPDev CLI to register and run a mobile-first application on the Foundation server on Bluemix versus the Foundation server that you get with the dev kit. So first of all, I have here the MobileFirst Foundation server set up on Bluemix. I took pretty much all of the defaults when I set it up, and I'll just go ahead and launch the console. You'll notice this Get Starter Code button, which is really handy. It will take you to this Downloads page where you can see a number of application scaffolds, which are the starter applications for each platform that we support. There are also some starter adapters that you can get on the Adapters tab, as well as the tools and SDKs that you can get from the Tools tab. And I'll just go ahead and download the Developer CLI. And once that is downloaded, I'll open my terminal, cd to the folder where it was downloaded, and run the npm install command to install the MFPDev CLI. And once that's done, I can verify the install went okay by typing MFPDev-v to get the version. And then what I'll just do is start out by running the MFPDev server info command. And this will basically show that there aren't any known servers at the moment, and to please run MFPDev server add to add a new server. I'll just go ahead and do that by running MFPDev server add in interactive mode, where I'll be asked by the CLI for the relevant information about my server, starting with what I want to name it. And in this case, I'm going to tell it about my Bluemix server, so I'll call it Bluemix. The next question is, what is the URL of this server? And to get that, I'll just actually go back to the Bluemix dashboard and copy and paste the server information from there. You just need to be careful to make sure to add the protocol followed by the pasted host name. Also, I need to include the port. I'll give it my admin ID and password that I set up when I created the Foundation server. I will choose to save the server password and choose the defaults for the rest of the questions. And now, when I run MFPDev server info, I will see my Bluemix server profile added. And then if I run that same command again, this time I'll give it the Bluemix server profile name at the end, and I'll get additional information about that specific server. And here we can see the URL, the exact version of the server, as well as the runtime information. And one thing you'll notice here is that there aren't any apps registered to this server as of yet. The first thing I want to do is register an app, and rather than start out in Xcode and create a new app and register it, I'm going to use one of the application scaffolds from the server console. So I'll go back to that downloads page in the server console, and I'll grab the iOS Swift application scaffold. All right, and now that the application scaffold is downloaded, I'll cd to my downloads folder and extract it from the command line, as I'm a command line kind of guy. And then I will cd into the folder that it created and open it up so you can just see that it's a pretty plain looking Xcode project. Now I'm going to use the MFPDev CLI to register this application with my Bluemix server. And to do that, I just run MFPDev app register from within the Xcode project root folder. And the CLI will sort of examine the contents of the folder, determine that it is an iOS application, and get the bundle ID, and just register with the default server profile pretty much automatically. And now if I go back to the server console and I reload it, we can see that the starter iOS Swift app has indeed been registered. So let's go to the Xcode project and open that up and run it and see what we get. So I'll just click the Run button here in Xcode, And what you'll see is that the iOS simulator will come up on the screen with the scaffold application, which just has a single button. Clicking the button just fires off a server API, just enough to determine that we are able to talk to the server that the app is registered against. And we can see, indeed, this application is talking to our MobileFirst Foundation server on Bluemix. So now what we're going to do is basically run through the same scenario, but this time we're going to use the MobileFirst Dev Kit. And it's really important to understand what the Dev Kit is and what do you get. And really, at its core, the Dev Kit is just a MobileFirst Foundation development server that you can run locally. That's pretty much it. So on Mac, what you get when you download it is a zip. So I'll just go ahead and extract that. And it comes with an installer so that we can choose where to extract it and have the user accept a license, etc. So this is the Dev Kit installer. It basically asks the user to accept the license, choose a location where they want to extract the development server, and pretty much finishes. So after the Dev Kit installer is done, what I need to do is go to the folder where the server has been extracted and start it so that the server is running on my local machine. And I'll just do that. The default folder is MobileFirst 8000. And from there, I'll run the start script for the server, which on Unix machines is run.sh. After the server is started, I'll run the console.sh script to open the console in my web browser. And it's really important to notice at this point that this is not my Foundation server on Bluemix. This is actually running on my laptop. As you can see in the browser, it says localhost as the server. And at this point, I've just started my server. It's completely clean, and there are no apps registered against it. So let me go back to the terminal, and I'll use the CLI to register the app with this local server. First, what I'll do is I'll run MFPDev server info like I did before, and you'll notice that something rather magical has happened. Now in the list of server profiles, we have this local server, which has just sort of appeared magically. If you remember back previously, I had to manually add the Bluemix server using the MFPDev server add command. In this case, the CLI is pretty smart. It recognizes that there is in fact a MobileFirst Foundation development server running locally on this hardware, and it just went ahead and added a profile for us. So if I run MFPDev server info again, but this time on the local profile that was created, we'll see pretty much what we expect: the URL, the version, and the fact that there are no apps registered. So let's go ahead and re-register this same iOS Swift starter app, but with our local server. And to do that, I run mfpdev app register, and this time I'll give it the name of the server profile that I want to register it against. In this case, local. You'll notice that I am being prompted to select an IP address. As it happens, my laptop has multiple IP addresses on it. And so in order to register the server, I need to tell it exactly which IP address I want it to communicate with. So I'll just go ahead and pick the top one. And we get a message saying that it was successfully registered. And again, I'll run mfpdev server info on the local server profile, and this time you'll see that our app has indeed been registered. And if I go back to the server console running on my local machine and reload the page, sure enough, my app is in fact registered there. So just as before, let's go back to Xcode and verify that this app, it's the same app as before, mind you, is now registered to talk to our local server. So I'll open the Xcode project or workspace again. I'll hit that run button as before and bring up the iOS simulator. And this time you'll notice when we ping the server, the response comes back saying that we are indeed configured and able to talk to the MobileFirst server running on the local machine. So at this point, you might be asking yourself a question like, hey, I heard this dev kit thing included all the tools and SDKs and starter apps. Where is all that stuff installed? And the answer is in the server, right? I said early on when I introduced the dev kit installer that what you get is just a MobileFirst server that you can run locally on your machine. And it's more or less exactly the same as the one that's running on Bluemix, so that you can go to this Get Starter Code downloads page, and you get all of the applications, starter adapters, tools, and SDKs that you could get from the Bluemix server. And all of these artifacts are bundled into the server extracted with the dev kit. So clicking these download links doesn't go out to the internet. They're actually already bundled inside the server.